What is imagination? How to live a more imaginative life, and why would you want to do that? It's another wild imagination video coming up just after this. So this is a video about how I became interested in imaginative life. Why I'm making this video, I guess, which will hopefully be of interest or resonate with some of you. It's not just about me. Long story short, suffering, very common story. I was depressed, unhappy. I didn't connect that to imaginative life for quite some time, but one of the telltale markers, one of the links from that depression to imagining was really noticing how hard it was to enjoy fiction, to noticing how hard it was to get into a movie. I was just like stuck in my dull, flat, literal existence. It was getting harder and harder to become absorbed in the enchantment of story. That was a big clue. And when I eventually started to read about and got interested in, well, what is imagination? And can you get it back? Is it just an inevitable slow decline from childhood chat with imaginary friends to some kind of adult reality in the objective world? That was my question. When I started to explore, what I discovered was that imagination, contrary to the dictionary definition, which would suggest to you that it's something inside your head, like a fantasy inner life that's quite separate from the senses. It's about experiences that haven't actually happened. Actually, when you explore the actual lived experience of what it means to imagine, it is an embodied act. It's what our imaginations do with the evidence from sense experience that cooks up our sense of who we are and the world around us. So obviously, if I'd been spending more and more time indoors, working on screens, travelling around in cars, and ever less time outside, running around, playing under trees, I was going to be disembodied, and to the extent that I was disembodied, I'd lost that sense of imaginative richness and story-filled possibility that I remembered from childhood. Which is, I guess, why I'm talking about this today, because here I am in the place where I grew up as a child. This is where we used to run around and play games. And it's been spending time here reconnecting to this place that is kind of like, it's like a body memory, and I've managed to sort of tap back into that vein of experience, if you like. There's a rich vein of experience in the land where I had it in spades, and then it's been about learning to transplant that and take it back to London, where I live these days, by spending time there more outside, walking around with Millie the dog, and becoming embodied and connected to that landscape. And then that spilled over back into fiction and movies, and then reading spills back into walking around in the land, and it builds and builds. You can rediscover and reconnect to the imaginative richness that I think all children have. It gets knocked out of them by the education system. It gets knocked out of us, got knocked out of me, because it gets poo-pooed, and you get told it's silly. And if you hear that enough, it retreats away from the world. It becomes an inner thing, and the world loses its enchantment. But yeah, I've been exploring how to turn that around, and that's one of the things that I'm interested in and talking about and writing about here. So I think I'll leave that there for today. Thanks for watching to the end. If you're new, do subscribe, and if you'd like to learn more about wild imagination, do check out my book Waking Dreams, Imagination in Psychotherapy and Everyday Life, and I will see you again in the next video. Okay, bye bye.